Hey, I just want to welcome everybody to another episode of the Evolution Project podcast, where I bring on my friends and we talk about life and we talk about everyone's kind of own evolution in their personal journey. And today I have one of my really good friends, Andrew Mangeris, who is going to be a big part of the experiences we're doing this year with the Evolution Project. And so, without further ado, Andrew, will you do me a favor and just kind of introduce yourself and, who you are and what's this thing called Koltael, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. First of all, thank you, Brian. It's a pleasure to be on here with you. You are just awesome. What a great friend you've been over the years, and I appreciate that. A little bit about myself and background. My wife and I started a foundation called Koltael, and Koltael, of course, is a Mayan word. Maybe not, of course. Maybe you didn't know that, but it is a Mayan word that means to help or to save. And so we do humanitarian trips. We do projects and things down in Mexico in Chiapas area with the indigenous communities. And we've been going down there for over 11 years now and done quite a bit there as far as building classrooms, helping with education at the high school level and also beyond that. But I've been doing nonprofit work for over 11 years now, and the partner down there that I have has been doing it for over 17 years in Chiapas. And we absolutely love working with them, my wife and I and my kids. And now hundreds of other people have gone down there and helped work in these areas.
So, I think it would be fun to I like that one of my favorite things I do when I get my friends together is I introduce my friends to my friends and then I tell them how I know this friend. So, can I play that game with you? Is that okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So, shout out to Kirk Chug. Kirk Chug is a really good friend of mine that has a podcast called The Gentleman Project. And I actually met Kirk through a men's group that I get together with once a month. And I'd always heard his name and knew who he was, but I never really gotten a chance to get to know him very well. And, then as fate would have it, we end up talking to each other and we become like really good friends. And he knows that I've been doing this men's work thing with the Evolution Project, and he's been doing this thing called the Gentleman Project, which is a lot about fatherhood. And so it was just like we just had a lot of stuff in common. Well, he does a podcast with Andrew, and he's like, "You need to listen to this." And then he said, "I want you to come next summer with us." And so I listened to the podcast and I learned about the stuff we're going to talk about today. And, the cool part of the story is it was like an immediate yes, I still didn't really know exactly all the details, but I was like, "Sounds cool, count me in for 2." And I thought I'd be going with my son, Roston, and when I brought it up to him, he's like, "Dad, I don't think I wanna do that," He's like a 15-year-old kid, and he was just kinda like, I don't think that's what I wanna do." And then I'm just casually talking with my wife, and she's like, "Oh, I would do that." And it was our 20-year anniversary, and so for our 20-year anniversary, we went down and did this thing called Koltael and did a service project down there. And, one of my favorite things, Andrew, about how we met is that you're just somebody that, like, is so easy to be a friend to and to feel like a friend because 'cause you're so genuine and you're so nice and you really believe in this. Like, I can tell this foundation that you've started, it's not just something you did because you were bored and thought, that'd be really cool if I did this. This is actually who you are. It's a part of your life. And what I want to know is I want to know how this all happened, because this foundation's been in effect now for how long?
So we've been doing work down there for over 11 years.
Yeah.
Um, Officially, the Foundation Koltael has only been going for the past 3.5 years, and so it's fairly new. But I used to run another foundation for a company that I previously worked with,
Okay.
and of course they got bought, and I was not part of the transition team to the new company, and my wife and I looked at each other and we're like, you know what? We need to make sure that these projects keep going.
Yeah.
And because that's what you do when you're unemployed, is start a foundation. Most people, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to retire or I have a lot of wealth. That wasn't it for us. We we have a passion for these people and continuing to make sure that these projects are done because we have built relationships in these communities that are so powerful and precious to us.
So tell me a little bit about, I mean, uh, what's the connection to Mexico? I mean, what's the connection to Chiapas?
Ooh.
How did you find yourself there specifically, right?
Yeah, so it kind of started when I took my son for his graduation. We were like, you know what, you're going to be graduating. Let's see if we can do a graduation trip. And instead of going to some mouse land or some cruise, we're like, you know what, let's do something that's really meaningful.
Yeah.
And we took him on a humanitarian trip and absolutely loved it. And after that point, I was like, we need to do some more of these. And I made some contact with a guy in Chiapas, and his name is Edich. And you got to know Edich, of course, and he is phenomenal. And I had found out he had been doing some humanitarian work in that area. And so I was like, all right, let's go down and let's see what's going on. And so we went down, checked it out, and we were like, hey, there's a lot more to this than just doing some service. This is actually making a difference in people's lives on in the relationships and some sustainability instead of just saying, "Hey, let's just send some money and let's just help some people and then I feel good and hopefully they feel good and we move on." No, we wanted to do something that was going to be long-term sustainable. And education, and that's why we focus on education, is because the best way to help people out of poverty is to educate them.
Yep.
You can't really do anything until they have an education and an understanding, and their dropout rate is like 55% in high school, average third grade education. And we're like, this is the poorest state in Mexico. These people are very remote and don't have access to a lot of the regular cities and more first world country stuff that you might find in some of the bigger areas. And they're speaking Spanish as a second language if they even speak it. And so we saw this huge need, and they have the biggest hearts. And that's what really got me. These people just are so willing to help. It's not like, hey, just give me my fish. I'm going to come fish with you, right? And so we teach them how to fish, and then they're out there doing it. And they do the work. They do 99.9% of the labor in our projects. We go down and we end up doing some, but let's be honest, we're white guys that just don't live here in America that don't do a lot of work, and they know how to really work. And so that's part of the contract. When we go in, we build that relationship with the communities to make sure that they are willing to do their part. If they're not, we're not going to do a project. We're not going to help them. And so
Yeah, so
that's
I
key.
love this. I love this concept, right? It's not just this charity that's like, hey, we're going to put up a school and we hope you guys, like it. It's like, no, we're going to work together and build something that has the possibility to help change the lives of the people that live around here, and you're going to have ownership in it, just
Hmm.
like we're going to have ownership in this. And it's not a I very much sense that. I mean, I remember when Chandy and I were down there, um, we were mixing cement and putting it in like Home Depot buckets. And let me tell you, like by the end of those 2 days, my shoulders were roasted. I was tired, and my hands, my beautiful, supple, soft hands had blisters on them, and my shoulders right here, even though I try to work out, like I was still really sore. And even though I was still doing that, I just took the buckets of cement in and poured them on the floor. But those guys are in there leveling the floor, making sure that it's
Hmm.
it's it's correctly done. And I mean, that's just one phase of the school, right? I mean,
Hmm.
there's cinder blocks and there's roofs and probably other things
And
I
the
don't
other
even
thing is,
know.
the other thing is it's a learning experience, right? It's one of the nicest buildings in town, and most of them haven't worked on a construction site. These locals have not seen this type of a project that's this uh, technologically or engineered this way, this advanced. So they're learning as they're going through it. They're volunteering their time
Yeah.
and they're coming to help, but it's also an educational process in construction and how to build properly
Yeah.
because we build it's the most it's earthquake zone there. It's the most safe building in the whole entire community.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. Have you had moments? I mean, I know the answer is yes, but can you maybe share a couple moments where you've just had like that I don't know, maybe it's gratitude, maybe it's just awareness, maybe it's just a shift inside of you where it's like, "Oh yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing." That you'd want to share with everybody?
Um, Absolutely. There's been a number of them. When you're down there and you're meeting with these individuals, a couple years ago we had one that just really moved me. There's this young lady. She was in a community. They had no college in this community. She really wanted to learn how to be a nurse or something in the medical field. Had no way to do it. And we had talked about doing a online university. So several of the schools that we built, the high schools that we built, we converted late afternoon and evenings into an online university. And she just wanted to be able to get an education to help her own people. And of course, there's anybody that has an education leads these communities because they're really small and remote. It's not like you can use your education within those communities. And so we told her that we were going to be doing a online university for her, not for her specifically, but for her community, so that she and others, it was just, she was ecstatic. And you see the joy and the hope that somebody finally has that, hey, I can get an education because it's impossible to get a college education on $150 household income, right? And typically what the average is. And she just thought it was never possible. And that's just one of dozens and dozens of kids that
Yeah.
we see that are like, I now have hope that I can have a better life. And then when they graduate from college, they're the leaders in the town. They're the most educated and some of the best and strongest people in these communities that have never had real strong leadership. And it's changing a whole generation of kids coming up, and they are just so amazing. Let me share one more real quick because this
Mm,
one really got me. The first woman to graduate in one of these online universities that we started, and she came in with two kids. She came back. She had already graduated from high school. She came back 7, 8 years after graduating from high school once we put in this online university. Her and her husband, they already had two kids. They were both working to try and sustain their family. And they came back and studied in evenings and into the late night to be able to get their degrees. And the kids would sleep on the floor while the parents were studying on the computers. Both mom and dad graduated. She was pregnant with her third at the day of graduation. She was probably about 6, 7 months pregnant. And it was amazing to see her. She came up lit up like a fire. She was talking to all the women in there about how important it is for them to get an education.
yeah.
Now, we're talking about communities and culture that it's like, no, you don't, you women just need to stay home. You don't need an education. And here she is just, no, we need an education. We're the ones who are teaching our kids. We're the ones who need to help this next generation. It's as important for the man as the woman to get an education. And she became this voice for the women in that community to stand up and say, we need to be educated. We need to understand.
Yeah.
We don't need to push everything off. And to see something like that, you're like, it's worth it. It is so worth it to see changing generations in an entire community because now she's a voice for the whole community.
Right.
She's this ambassador that is just a proponent of what education can do and how it can help their family.
Mm. I think everyone can hear that passion in your voice. Um, you know, I think of one of my favorite days. I mean, when I think back to the week I spent down there, one of my favorite experiences when we ate the pizza at one's house, and all these graduates came, and these guys, they were all probably in their 20s.
Mm,
Most of them seemed like they were married or had families, right? And each one of them got up and just kind of shared, like, here's what I've done since I've gone through this program and got the education. And there was, The pizza we were eating was from a graduate. There were men that talked about cinder blocks and cement work and construction and internet, bringing
Hmm.
internet to the communities. And you could just see these guys, and they had this level of, I want to say pride, but like in the right way. Like you could tell they were like, I'm doing good and I'm having an impact and making a
Yeah,
difference. And
absolutely.
it was so cool to see the product of what this thing we've been spending a couple days at, trying to help and build. Which it is funny you say that, because it's like, the truth is when we do these projects, I think what people need to understand is there's really two ways that we help. The one way is physically we go there, so we get to be a part of it. But the
Hmm.
other part of it is a portion of the money that you pay to go on the trip goes to fund the actual project, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, I remember you told me, you said to build a school, the community donates the land
Hmm.
of where the school is going to be built, and then you go, we will donate the resources to build the school, which costs about $50,000 to $60,000. That's what you told me a year
Yeah.
ago. I don't know if it's more than that now or not. I mean,
It depends on the school and how many classrooms you're going to have, right? And that's just the cost of the building itself. That's not the cost of the land and the
yeah.
time donated and everything in its entirety. This project is several $100,000 just to build a couple classrooms, in value anyway. But yeah, it's a 50 to 60,000 is typically what it costs for two classrooms,
Yeah.
depending on which community it's in and where we're going to be doing that. So yeah.
And I think something important to point out too is that, uh, so if you're not familiar, I had no idea where Chiapas, Mexico is. Because Mexico, like the United States, there's different states, right?
Hmm.
And Chiapas is considered one of the poorest states in Mexico. It's very agricultural based, very coffee beans, and what else do they do
It's
there?
very green and lush compared to the rest of Mexico. A lot of people are surprised. I actually call it the secret garden spot of Mexico because most people don't know about it, like you just said.
Yeah,
And it's the greenest. 70% of all the water in all of Mexico comes at in Chiapas. The waterfalls and the ruins. There's the adventure, the culture,
yeah,
is just so rich, so deep. It's just amazing there.
yes.
If there's one place I want to go in Mexico, it's Chiapas because of that, because of the richness of the culture, the food, as well as the opportunities to go to these beautiful waterfalls and places and the Mayan ruins. Some of these ancient Mayan ruins are just majestic.
And it's one of the things I think a lot of people don't realize too is that when we went, I think it was in June, and because we're in the mountains, it was still only about 85 degrees, with a breeze.
Hmm.
It wasn't miserable. Like that's what I would say. There's definitely been times I've been in places where it's really humid, and
Hmm.
it just feels like you're wearing a blanket, when
Yeah,
you go
it's
outside.
higher altitude, right? So it's not your typical hot that people think of when they're in Mexico because you're most of the time above 7,000 feet. We're in San Cristobal de las Casas, and San Cristobal is one of the oldest colonial cities in the Americas, first of all, but it is also above 7,000 feet and just much more temperate and cooler. Matter of fact, at night, a lot of people want to put on a little jacket because it is a little bit cooler. So you are closer to the sun, so you have to be careful. Sun, putting on sunscreen and making sure you don't get sunburned and things like that. But it's not as hot as people think it is. Just perfect temperature, actually. Wish I
Yeah,
could live there year round because it just is beautiful.
awesome. Um, yeah, that's great. We're obviously gonna post some pictures up of when we went on our trip, and people can kind of see that. Actually, on the website link, we've got some of those pictures up, and it was just I thought it had such a profound impact on me and my wife that we both said, like, hey, this is something we want to be a part of, right? And
Yeah.
one of my favorite experiences that we had when we were there is Edich. I became good. Edich is like the coolest guy. Like,
Gold. That man is just awesome.
he's got just an energy about him that is like,
Yeah.
he's got that Latin heart. all love, and he's
Hmm.
just animo. He's got lots of energy to him. And one of the last nights before we left, I had this little bracelet on my wrist that I carry. And when I do Evolution Project, I give the men a bracelet at the
Hmm.
end of it. And I tell them that this bracelet is symbolic, right? It represents a promise or a commitment that you make to yourself. And I encourage them to wear this bracelet as an anchor and a reminder of their experience at the Evolution Project and a promise they made with themselves, right? And so I took off my bracelet and I gave it to Edich and I said, I want to let you know, I promise I will come back and I'm going to bring a group of men here and we're going to build another school. And he put on his wrist and he gave me this big hug. And he was he was just like, yeah, dude, I can't wait for you to come back. So this is something it's something I've wanted to
Hmm.
do. And I'm just so excited to be able to share this with my friends, right, that are part of the
Yeah.
Evolution Project, these men that have come. Now, I want to, one of the angles we're kind of taking on this is we really want this to be a father and son's trip. And
Yeah.
part of the reason behind this is oftentimes when men will come to the Evolution Project, one of the most common things they'll say at the end of it is, do you have something like this for my son? Or,
Hmm.
youth. And the answer we'd always give people is, unfortunately we don't. But if anything changes, we'll let you know. And I think this angle, I know you'd mentioned you went on an experience like this with your son. Can you speak to
Yeah.
that as a father right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I mentioned that that's really the first exposure I had coming into some of these indigenous communities was with my son after graduation. And I didn't want to just go, well, let's have fun. Let's go do some roller coaster rides or whatever. I want to say, no, I want an experience where I can get some one-on-one time with him that's going to be more interrupted, where you're going to be working side by side together
Yeah.
and you have this opportunity to connect unlike anywhere else. Your cell phone doesn't work up in these areas, right? And so you have this chance to have some good deep discussions about life that you might not otherwise have because of all the distractions that we typically have in our world, but also you're getting exposed to things that you never see around here, and people are seeing, and my son, it was for the first time able to see how other people live in the world, how happy they are with so little too, and that sometimes is a surprise. People are like, they're just so happy around here, yet they have dirt floors and open fires to cook every meal. How is that possible? And you see and appreciate what you have, but you also appreciate that those relationships that you build are precious and priceless. And that's one of the things I love that you do with the Evolution Project is talking about those relationships that you have and being able to work on those, especially with your sons. A lot of times, they're the tough teenage boy or whatever, and they're harder to talk to. But um, when you get them in this environment, you see a softer side of your
Yep.
kids.
And I think so I'm gonna be talking with Kirk as well about his experience because Kirk took his two boys
Yeah,
and that was part of the experience for him. And I'm going to get his perspective as a father and what he gained from that experience.
yeah.
I think something important to just kind of talk about too with the people that are possibly thinking of coming is give them kind of an overlay of the whole experience. It's not just a humanitarian trip, and we're
Hmm.
not just building a school. It's a cultural. I call it like a once in a lifetime memory kind of trip.
Hmm.
It's a trip that you'll go on that you'll reference back 20 years later when you're hanging out with your son and he's got kids and you go, remember that one time when we went to Mexico, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Tell everyone like what the week is going to look like because I think this is one of my favorite parts, right? It's work and play.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It is work and play. And so we're going to spend a couple days doing service, and we'll be um, going up into the communities. We stay in well, let me, I guess, take a step back. We fly into Tuxtla. We pick you up from the airport. Everything's included from the moment you land till you get back on the plane. And we try to do that. We take care of transportation, meals. We take care of activities, the hotel, and then we stay in San Cristobal de las Casas, which is usually an hour to 2 hours from the communities. but the hotel is a nice, safe hotel, right? It's got hot water, it's got air conditioning, it's got bottled water for you every day. It even has hair dryers, So it's not the 5 star, the nice luxury, but it's enough that you're like, all right, I'm not going to be worried about sleeping on the floor in a mattress, right? And so then we take 15 passenger vans up and down each day, up into the mountains, into the communities and in the indigenous communities. And the bus rides are always a lot of fun. People are like, it's a great time to sit and talk and get to know other people. We get there, we work, the communities are like so welcoming that they throw a party for us with fireworks and mariachi bands just to welcome us and say thank you for coming. And they spend like an hour doing dances and programs and stuff. And you're just like, they don't even know me. And here they are just giving us this warmest of any welcome you can imagine in these communities. And then we spend the days working on, the construction site, depending on what it is. It could be cement, it could be painting, it could be putting in windows, roofing, whatever is needed at the time that the project, depending on where it's progressing to.
Yeah.
And then and so we'll do a couple days of that. And then we go back in the evenings into San Cristobal. We have dinner in the evenings at some of the different restaurants there. Some of the food is just some of the best tacos. Matter of fact, I'll guarantee you this. I guarantee you this is the best Mexican food you will ever get
Yeah.
going to Mexico.
That's right.
And I bet you can attest to that. But they're al pastor tacos and the arranchera tacos, they're just to die for. And so we get some good food, so you get that culture experience too of the food
The
that is
place
just
that the
amazing.
place that we ate on the way back that was off the highway,
Uh-huh.
where they had that was my favorite. That was
Oh, really?
so good.
Yeah.
I love that
Yeah.
place.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So the food is just amazing. Now, I've traveled around the world over 40 different countries, and I have had a lot of different food experiences, and food is always one of my favorite things. I like to eat good food.
Yeah.
And so I'll promise you, you will get to eat some good food
Yeah.
on these trips. And then we also get into some of the adventure side of things. As I was mentioning before, Chiapas is just lush and green, lots of rainfall. There's lots of waterfalls. And so we'll visit a couple different waterfalls that are there, and you get to go swimming in them and hiking around them that are just some of the most beautiful, crystal clear waterfalls that you've ever seen. And it's just a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
so we do that. We get to experience that. We also go into the homes. One of the things we try to do different than a lot of just humanitarian projects is we have built, because we've been going there for 11 years, we build these relationships. And so we go into the homes, and one of the things you mentioned that you had a memory of that was probably one of the most profound for you was going into the homes of these individuals. We spent an entire day meeting with people in their homes where some of them are dirt floors and some of them they're still cooking on their open fires every meal, and you get to listen to them, listen to their stories, understand what they've gone through, and that connection to me is probably one of the most priceless. You're not going to get that in most places because where we're going, you could not go unless you have that relationship in these indigenous communities. You can't, I mean, people don't just take a tourist and go into these areas, right? There's other places, sure, you could go see the ruins and things like that. But going in to have that cultural experience of what is it really like for these people, um, and to actually get to meet them and hear their stories and share that. And then of course we spend a couple days also. We'll get to see some of the different Mayan ruins and that are just beautiful. They're majestic, some of them, and you're just like, wow, this thing has lasted thousands of years, and you're looking at it and listening about the stories behind it and stuff. And I just love going to see those.
And something I would add to that is when you think of the big towns in Mexico, right? I like places to go see ruins. You think of Tulum, right? Chichen Itza.
Hmm.
A lot of those places are so well trafficked, like attended, like with you see the ruins, but you're not really touching them or getting like they're very it's a distant experience, right?
Hmm.
One of the things I loved about Palenque is there are still ruins. I mean, we climbed up to the top of one, and sat up on it and looked over all of the jungle. And it's very well preserved.
Hmm.
I remember reading about like Palenque. If you look it up, it was like one of the big central hubs. And apparently, there was a drought and a famine, and essentially it went from one of the biggest hubs in that time period to like totally abandoned. And then the jungle just took it over, and 90% of Palenque is still in the jungle, uh, covered by the jungle. And then they've uncovered all these cool, huge, big ones. But the
Yeah.
actual community, you can go on a walk, and that's
Hmm.
that walk we did, and they're like, "Oh, this is this here," and you can see it once they show you, but you might walk
Yeah.
right past it because you just wouldn't know. And
Yeah.
that was such a cool, like that's an experience. The average person is just not going to go to Palenque. It's too much off the beaten
No.
path. You know?
And there's a couple others too that we're going to do that I don't think you got a chance to go
No.
to these others, but we're going to look at Tony Na.
Yeah.
Tony Na is considered one of the tallest Mayan ruins um, in all of the Mayan territory, and it's been closed for several years, but just reopened recently. So we'll get to go to that one, as well as Bonampak and Yaxchilan, which are just amazing. They're very off the beaten path, and not many people go to those, and so it's a unique experience.
Yeah. And I think it's good to highlight these things, because what I want the men to understand is, this is not your trip to Mexico, all inclusive resort, hanging out at the beach and going and seeing, a ruin with 20,000 of your other closest friends from all over the world. This is an experience where it's kind of a one of one, like
Hmm.
you're hanging out with real people in real
Yeah.
communities, and you're having an experience, but it's something that you're doing so much good for. It's like to me, they're my favorite experiences because everybody's lifted, right?
Hmm.
uh it makes a major difference. Something I remember at one of the days, they wanted to make us a meal, and
Hmm.
they made us tortillas, and then there was this caldo, like a soup,
Uh-huh.
with
Uh-huh.
some vegetables and potatoes, and there was chicken in it. And I remember you said to me, you said, "This is a pretty big deal, Brian." And I was like, "Well, yeah, it's great. They're feeding it." And you're like, "No, you don't understand. Like, they're not eating chicken like every day. Like, this is really a big deal. Like, they
Yeah.
are they are very much showing their appreciation for,
Yeah.
what we're doing and stuff." And it was awesome. They were dressed in like typical, their typical dresses and stuff.
Hmm.
And it was just a really great experience. It's like, where are you going to get that? You're just not going to get that anywhere,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just real.
Yeah.
You could just feel
It's
that
very
connection,
unique. You don't have this type of opportunity in other, even just doing a general tourism or things like that. You won't get the cultural experience that we're doing because of where we're going, and being able to see and meet with some of these families and have those, like, them cook for us that caldo de pollo, caldo de gallo, which is that typically that is only like once a month. That's like a premier meal that's like maybe once a month.
Yeah.
Typically, it's just going to be more of whatever they can get in the local area from their vegetables growing and fruits growing and things like that. So,
Yeah. Well, Andrew, as we kind of like wrap things up, one of the things that I just want to reemphasize for everybody, let's give everybody the details that
mhm.
they would need to know. And then, one of the things that I was kind of clear on. So I've done the Evolution Project for 5 years, right?
Wow.
And it's been such a wonderful experience. You've been up to Camp Oakley, you've experienced
Yep.
it.
Yep. I have. It's been awesome.
And this year we are evolving and creating these once in a lifetime experiences, and we're inviting these men to come. And I really want to, my hope is that the man that's listening to this right now, or even their wife, right? If you've got a son that's probably, let's say, 12 to 18 years old, I think that's a good, range that you've just been wanting to connect with, in a different way. this quite possibly could be one of the best opportunities for you to do that. It's a 7-day trip. The cost of the trip is $3,200 and your airfare. A portion of those funds are going to fund the school, and then the other portion is going to pay for the things that we're doing. Okay. And it's going to be on July 16th through the 24th. Is that right?
23rd, I think.
Yeah. July 16th through the 23rd. Uh, Andrew said it perfect. Literally, you just have to get there, because once you're there, everything's taken care of. You don't need to worry about transportation. You don't need to worry about what you're eating. The food is good. We're not eating questionable food, right? Everybody, when they go to Mexico, they're so scared about the food and this and that. And the truth is, if you drink bottled water and, you have a little bit of caution and intelligence, you're going to be just fine, right?
Yeah.
Not really a problem. I just want you to know this really excites me. I really am embracing partnerships this year. And, it really excites me because the truth is, Andrew, if you told me, hey, Bryan, put a trip together in Mexico for father and sons, I would have no idea where to start, but I know the guy that knows how to do it better than anybody else. And I just want to express my gratitude that we're able to do this together, and this opportunity and this partnership to do good. um what would you say to the man that's like seriously considering doing this? What kind of parting words would you give them?
Um, I would say that this is coming back to something you said earlier. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. Kids grow up so fast. When you're doing and have opportunities with your kids, it's fun to do fun things. But the one thing, the memories that will last the longest are things like this, where you're getting together and going and serving other people and understanding how to build those relationships with other people.
Yeah.
It's my kids' favorite vacation. Over the years they've come. Some of them have been like 6, 7 times now over the years, and they still talk about it as being their favorite trip to go on. In fact, some of my kids who are now um, grown, have their own jobs, they're like, "Yeah, I'm going to come. I'll pay my own way. I don't care. I'm still coming." And they want to be a part of it
Yeah.
because they feel that connection when you do something like this. And I would say make the sacrifice. Every choice we make, you have to give something up for something else. And to me, this is one of those things that is worth it. In Spanish, they say vale la pena. It is so worth it,
Yeah.
because relationships with your children, father-son relationships, will last a lifetime. And making opportunities to build those relationships is something that matters, right? It's
Yeah.
something that really matters.
That's right. You'll never regret it. That's what I have found. um you know uh that trip that I went on with Chandy, with you, like, that is something that we shared
Mhm.
together that we will both never forget,
I
and
had discussions on that trip that I've never had. I mean, that was one of the things, and specifically with you, it was so fun to have such great deep discussions with people.
yeah,
You really have that opportunity when you disconnect from everything else
that's
to
right.
be able to have some really good deep discussions,
Yeah.
and I treasure those.
Yeah, I tell people it's going to be like an evolution project, but it's going to be a totally different evolution project. The
Yeah.
ones we've done in the past, they're so condensed, because it's such a short period of time, that we are very focused in the conversation, and we definitely have an agenda and a program we're following. When you open it up to more space, there is a magic that you can't really define, that only the space can create. And that's created by the people there, the environment there, right? And
Hmm.
the intentionality that we bring to it. And that's why I'm so excited about this, because it's something, like I said, it's once in a lifetime kind of memories and experiences. And I just want you to know that when I looked at the Evolution Project this year, I sat down and said, what are things that I want to go do? And I just want to invite my friends to go do it. And this was absolutely one of the top things on my list. And so, the excitement that I have toward this, I'm so excited. I think something important to tell everybody too is that um, we'll have the link in the website for where they can go to sign up. But Koltael is a 501(c) nonprofit,
Mhm.
meaning that, if you're a business owner, for example, or just a regular person, uh, when you choose to go on this, like, this is a tax deduction, right? This is a donation to a nonprofit organization. This is perfect. This is like
Hmm.
the best of both
Absolutely.
worlds. You're doing
Yeah.
good. And so, I mean, I tell you guys, if you're a business owner or something, this can be this can be a business write-off, and you're doing so much
Yeah.
good with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you need another tax write-off, it is a 501(c)(3, and with that, they have certain regulations and laws. It is a donation. You're not buying a trip technically because you're going to make that donation and into that 501(c)(3, but you can write it off, of course, on your taxes. And I'll promise everybody this. I'll promise everybody you're going to have lots of fun, you're going to
Yep.
have lots of good food, and you're going to have lots of hugs from me and probably Bryan, and it's going to be a blast. I am looking forward to it. I just love having these trips and being on them.
Andrew, thank you for taking your time to be with us today. Uh, you know,
Absolutely. My
I
pleasure.
the best thing to do is go straight to the horse's mouth and hear it from them. And so you are the heartbeat of Kotael, and I know how much you and your wife, uh, Shannon, have put into it's Shannon, please.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I just was like, I know how much you put of yourself into it, and I
Yeah,
just want to tell you thank you for your sacrifice and for sharing something that's so sacred
absolutely.
that you love with other people, because it blesses a lot of people's lives. So thank you.
Absolutely. We love it. We love it. And I look forward to seeing everybody there. Koltael, KOLTAEL.org.
Yep.
Koltael.org.
Yep. And like I said,
So
we'll have the link up in it, so you'll click it and it'll go directly to the website. You can read all
perfect.
about it, see pictures. It'll be awesome. Sign up. Okay.
All right. Thanks, my friend. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate you, man. See ya.
All right. Big hugs. Take care.
Bye.